What up, YouTube? This is Law TV, and today we're getting ready to talk about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I'm not getting ready to do anything spectacular or any huge productions or anything like that, like I have done in the past for my book reviews. I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and I just wanted to kind of talk about this because there's a whole lot of controversy based on this last movie that just came out. And we haven't even gotten to the second weekend, and there's a lot of people talking about how much they hate the movie. And Rian Johnson shouldn't get the next trilogy or anything like that. And I mean, honestly, guys, I'm not even really that attached to Star Wars like that. I'm not getting ready to get up in here and argue with y'all. I mean, I'll have some debates and everything, but once I sense that you are blindly viewing this as if there, was actually some kind of universe, galaxy far, far away, or something like that, these stories came from, then I'm just gonna be like, it's no purpose in talking to you because that's a waste of energy. And you probably already have recognized that I don't do very many videos on Star Wars anymore, mainly just because of the fact that my energy is going towards something that is based heavily on opinion. And things that are based heavily on opinion, you might as well consider them hobbies. And I'm not here to spend my spare time doing this hobby and in the long run not seeing anything coming from it. So I went on ahead and decided it'll be better if I went on ahead and start focusing on improving my future with business or building an audience that I actually am passionate about and I am attached to some degree, because I have an outcome that I'm looking forward to. I'm not attached, so to speak, in a way where if the outcome doesn't happen, then I'm gonna freak out like Star Wars fans are doing today. But I am attached to a point where I really want it to happen. I like, my emotions are there for that. But that is in cryptocurrency. And if you guys want to check out my channel, you could go to YouTube/C/CryptoComeUp. And that's CRYTP or PTOCOMEUP. Crypto come up. Crypto come up. Because I'm into cryptocurrency. I'm a programmer. Is something that I feel like just kind of came as an opportunity that I really will enjoy talking about and sharing ideas and education based on it. Anyway, back onto the Star Wars thing, guys. Don't look at everything that I'm saying here and consider it as if it is just like the law. Don't go into other comment sections and be like, this guy said this, and I'm supposed to be some spokesperson for Star Wars or anything. Honestly, guys, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. Y'all ain't got to prove nothing to anybody about Star Wars, okay? Seriously. I think there is, these groups of Star Wars fans here. We have the blind, I love Star Wars fans and everything that comes out is just great from Star Wars. I guess more so casual fans and diehards that just love everything Star Wars. And I'm kind of one of those people. I love everything Star Wars. I'm not blind about it. I do have my issues with Star Wars and some stories. I have to, point some of those out individually. But overall, I am a big fan. I love Star Wars. I think it's amazing. Let's get rid of this. Get out of here. Okay, so yeah, and I'm not getting ready to edit it all out of this video, y'all. I'm just kind of doing this and, you know, just trying to talk about some things that I've seen in comment sections and everything, and I really want to address it. So it's going to kind of be a long video. You know, if you're watching it now, you could do the podcast style thing, you know, just listen in the background or whatever. But yeah, like I said, there's the blind fans who just like, they love everything that come out. They say everything is great. You know, Rebels comes out, they're excited. Clone Wars came out, they're excited. They don't have any, you know, opinions about these issues of a lot of these films. Now, I'm going to address all of this later on. Trust me. Don't look at these blind fans and then assume that I'm talking bad about them, because that's not the case. Then you got your angry people on the other side, and they could be casual fans and they could be diehards as well. But the angry people, now there's a reason why they're all angry. And it's because they have this deep, strong attachment that they can't let go of to what they believe Star Wars should be. They're projecting what they think Star Wars should be. Now, guys, let me tell you now, I'm going to get a little deep with this. This isn't about Star Wars. This is about people. And you guys, you know, really learning to evolve. You know, us all learning to evolve. I want to learn to evolve as well. So this is kind of like just me spewing out my thoughts about this whole controversy and how people are taking it. Then you got your mature people, the people who are just kind of enjoying Star Wars as it is. They had their gripes with it. They, you know, they're able to speak about those things in a very clear and calm way, and not be like, oh, Star Wars is ruined because these few little things that they don't agree with. But their disagreements they don't ruin the experience for them. They're mature enough to understand that some things they're gonna like, some things they're not gonna like, some things they're gonna be happy with, some things they're not. But you can't please everybody, man. You're just not gonna be able to do that, especially with a franchise that has touched millions and millions of people. I mean, we're talking about a franchise that's in the $1 billion. People have spent billions of dollars on it. So you gotta understand, this ain't just no regular old creation that, you know, a few little niche group of people are into. That's not the case. So you also have to consider the film industry now, guys. Like, I think fans do not, the majority of fans do not consider the film industry and what it is. It's a business, guys. It's a business. It is a business created to give you an experience of some kind and tell a story of some kind. And that's the story that they want to tell. If somebody has the budget or doesn't have the budget to be able to tell that story, they're going to do what they can with that budget to tell the story. And if it comes out the way they wanted it to, great. If it doesn't, oh well. If the fans love it, great. If the fans don't, oh well. It is what it is, guys. This is how business works. This is how the world works. And I think people are missing that. They're missing the fact that Hollywood has always been Hollywood. Everything that you're complaining about is stuff that has been going on since the beginning of time. Like, since the beginning of Hollywood, at least. Come on now, like, y'all are being so naive or acting as if you're very naive. And with all these gripes that you guys have, it just makes you sound whiny and like babies and very immature. So Disney, I want to touch on this a little bit. Disney does not have complete creative control over Star Wars. Lucasfilm has creative control over the stories of Star Wars. Okay? Let me repeat that. Disney has no creative control over Star Wars. None. So when you say Disney's ruining Star Wars, that is a misinformed statement. And it is no, because it is already, like, you're speaking about falsities already within your own statement. But it's been said so many times that people actually believe it. They believe it's true. And so that's why I say you guys had these naive views on what Hollywood is supposed to be like. Like, everybody's talking about, oh, things should be this way. And that is a clear indication that you have issues dealing with the world. You have issues coping with the world and how it operates. I'm a Taoist, guys. And the number one thing that a Taoist has to learn to do is accept the world as it is. So Hitler decides to, start World War II and, start the Holocaust. It's not, I'm not saying that this is something that's supposed to happen. This is something that should happen. When I'm saying it is happening. What can we do now in this moment to deal with it? And that's all you should be asking yourself. Be present in the moment and deal with these things as they come in the moment. So what you're doing when you say, oh, Star Wars should be this, you're trying to project a future that does not exist. Or you're trying to project a present that does not exist. Or you're trying to project a past that does not exist. And you're not accepting reality for what it is. Now, not to say that you don't have a right to have an opinion about a movie. Not saying that. What I'm saying is your attachment to that opinion and how it affects you in your life. You in your life. If you sitting up here spending hours and hours arguing with folks on social media about Star Wars, you might want to rethink your life. And granted, the irony of it with me getting on here and doing this video, yeah, there's irony in that. But the reality of it is I'm not that attached. I'm sitting up here just doing this just because I'm passionate about Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but it's just annoying to see all you fans just fight and fight and fight. Even I have done videos where I'm, poking fun at a lot of the fans because they all are arguing over stupid stuff. It's stupid. Just stop. Y'all sound like babies. Good Lord. And I mean, I guess the only reason why I am doing this video is because I want to see if people are able to listen to some voice of reason. I'm no way claiming to be a voice of reason, but I'm not trying to create any kind of divide here. I get it, you guys. I get it. Star Wars, Disney came and wiped out the expanded universe. So some of y'all are mad. Lucas created the prequels. So you original trilogy fans are mad. And then Disney made The Force Awakens and it was almost just like A New Hope. And so everybody's mad about that to some degree, and some people are happy about it. Rogue One didn't tell all the story for all the characters, not enough character development, so that people were mad about that. But I'm gonna talk about that in the future. These are all just wow. And I'm gonna address both sides, guys. I'm gonna address both sides. Don't worry. I'm not here to just talk about just one side or the other. It's just this whole thing is just insane, y'all. We gotta let go of it and just enjoy what we have, you know. So yeah, I've touched on the fact that Lucasfilm they are the ones that have creative control. And a lot of misconceptions that people have is that Disney, you know, is influencing Star Wars or something now. And they Disneyfying it. Guys, I don't know what kind of things you think Disney is involved with. Like Disney is going to make things like, you know, there's going to be a musical or something in Star Wars. Although, don't get me wrong, in Rebels, they did have a little moment where there was a musical. Just a little tiny moment. I honestly feel like they were trolling just because of that. But, you know, I'm not going to go too deep into that. But the thing is that a lot of fans, Star Wars fans, believe that Disney is Disneyfying everything and trying to throw some really soft stories in when they believe that Star Wars is supposed to be darker and yada, yada, yada. Okay, so first off, number one, from the very beginning, Star Wars, not A New Hope, Star Wars. It was created for 12, 13-year-old boys, or even what is like 10 to 14-year-old boys or something like that. This is Lucas's vision from the beginning. Now, granted, Lucas's vision changed a lot over time, but the thing is that you got to understand at the very beginning, this was for teenagers, little teenagers, young teenagers. This is not for you, not for adults. Okay? It was even for little kids. When I was a kid, I wasn't born when A New Hope or Star Wars was released. And I was born when Empire Strikes Back was released. I was born that year. And Return of the Jedi was only 2 years old. So for me, Star Wars, like, I didn't go see it in theaters, but I did grow up watching it. My parents had it on VHS and I would watch it constantly. I would go through a whole day, like on weekends, just watching the whole trilogy of Star Wars because I loved it as a kid. And if you guys see my video, my philosophy on Star Wars or something, it's one of these videos in my list. But I talk about that whole story and how I stopped being obsessed with Star Wars and then got even more obsessed with Star Wars by the time I became an adult. But that was because I found that there is adult Star Wars material. Once I learned about that, then I was like, oh, I can be, because by the time I got involved with Star Wars again as an adult, the Clone Wars was like in the 3rd season. I had been completely turned off from the Clone Wars movie. Like, I was like, this is terrible. And I was so excited to see more Star Wars after Revenge of the Sith that I was even kind of happy to see that they made an animated film. But when I saw it, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go see that. And actually it's probably the worst Star Wars film out there, but in my personal opinion. And people like to talk about Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, but honestly, y'all, and actually I'm gonna give y'all a little insight here. For me personally, Phantom Menace and The Force Awakens those two are kind of like neck and neck for me as far as my dislike for those two films. And the Clone Wars is just, that's the bottom of the barrel for me when it comes to Star Wars. Top of the barrel for me is Rogue One, Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi, and The Last Jedi. because I like the Last Jedi. So basically, and Empire Strikes Back is not in there. I'm letting y'all know that. I'm not of the typical person who's gonna just be like, oh yeah, Empire Strikes Back, it's the best. I don't like it that much. It's good because it goes deep into the Force and everything, and I love that. But the thing is that I'm a big Palpatine fan. Anything that has Palpatine in it, that gets boosted up to the top. And not Palpatine, Sidious. Let me make sure I make that clear. Not Palpatine, Sidious. Anything that has Sidious in it, I'm on it, because he's my favorite character in all of Star Wars. And I'm still not sure what my favorite movie is all the way around. But Rogue One, Return of the Jedi, Revenge of the Sith, and The Last Jedi. Those are all my favorites. And I don't put them at, like, some days I feel like watching Return of the Jedi. Some days I feel like watching Revenge of the Sith. Some days, you know, I feel like watching Rogue One. And now The Last Jedi, I've watched it twice now. And it's up there with it. It's up there with the rest of them. I think it's better than Empire Strikes Back in my personal opinion. Now, this is just my personal opinion. Don't come jumping down my throat because I got a personal opinion about it. And y'all, oh, but it sucks. Okay, all right. We'll address all those comments in a few. But honestly, my favorites are those. And Empire Strikes Back comes right up under all of that. Like, so Empire Strikes Back is like after those 4 movies. And then you got like Attack of the Clones. Then it's Attack of the Clones, Star Wars, or A New Hope. And then Phantom Menace, The Force Awakens, Clone Wars. Not what you all probably would expect from a diehard Star Wars fan. I consider myself diehard. There are very few things that I do not know about Star Wars. I don't get some things like the juvenile novels or whatever. I don't grab those. Sometimes I do, but I just, it's not on my priority, because I really want to know about the adult Star Wars novels. I want to know about the comics. I want to know about the films. But the films, I'm kind of like, that's cool. But when y'all novel coming out, let me get that novel, because that's where the real stories, like all the stuff that you don't see in the movie, that comes in the book. So that's why I love it. And for all you who whine about the movies, okay, all right, I'll tell you now. Like, I was ready to whine about The Force Awakens until I was like, oh yeah, I got the book right here in my pocket. I'm getting ready to listen to it on Audible. I'm good. And I was very happy with The Force Awakens as a novel. Not to mention, The Force Awakens as a novel surpasses The Phantom Menace as a movie. The Phantom Menace as a novel is very good, but not as good as The Force Awakens in my personal opinion. All right, so let's talk about George Lucas real quick. George Lucas, his original vision to create Star Wars was very, Joseph Campbell. You know, is basically he just linked up with Joseph Campbell and decided to create this saga. Is a soap opera for teenage boys. That's what he called it. If you've seen my review, my spoilers review for the Force Awakens novel, then you'll see I got a clip in there from George Lucas talking about that. And it's very important that you guys understand. You got to understand George Lucas, everything that he started doing from the very beginning started to mold and take shape as it was happening. So he didn't even think Star Wars as a movie was gonna be successful. Y'all gotta get this, okay? He didn't even think it was going. He said he just wanted to do it. He was passionate about it. And he didn't care whether or not people would come to see it. He just wanted to make movies that he wanted to tell stories about. That's it. There's nothing more to that. What happened was Star Wars blew up. It exploded. The dream, the vision that he had, it resonated with people. And so then he started fleshing out this story development with all these characters in there. And he had to develop these characters even more, where things that he had planned with just this one movie now had to become more than that. And then there was the second movie, and there was the third movie. And of course, we knew that this was supposed to be the end. But then he went back and did the prequels, and he's like, oh, it's supposed to end here. And then we find out, you know, Star Wars goes even further than that because he decides to sell to Disney. Now, we had the Legends expanded universe all throughout, you know, the 90s and 2000s. And then basically this kind of fleshed out all these other stories. And I think why people get so upset and angry about Disney removing that is because there were really good stories in it. Like me personally, I loved Legacy. The Legacy series for where Darth Caedus rises to power, and spoiler alert, if you listen after this, come back in about 10 seconds, but Jaina Solo kills Jason. So yeah, pretty much like that whole series right there was awesome to me. I like the Fate of the Jedi series as well with Abeloth. That's amazing too. I love that one. And it even touches a little bit on the Legacy series. Then the Legacy comics now, where with Cade Skywalker. I love that. That whole story, that whole arc with Darth Krayt. Oh my God, I love that. That was deep. Then you have the Yuuzhan Vong. Now, I didn't like the Yuuzhan Vong stories as much as I liked the Legacy series. But it wasn't terrible. People were upset about Chewie dying. Well, Chewie died in this series, basically. In this canon, Chewie is dead. Why? Because Chewie is not even, because he's no longer a character anymore. In The Force Awakens, he was kind of just like a supporting guy, where Chewie had a very significant role in the original trilogy to some degree. But now you have Chewie just kind of being there for comic relief in some sorts. So yeah, if you were mad about Chewie dying in the Yuuzhan Vong series, the New Jedi Order series, then I would imagine you're pretty mad now too about Chewie. I think Chewie had a much more, they did Chewie much better in the New Jedi Order series, just because he died saving Anakin Skywalker's life. So yeah, they did him justice in that. They did Chewie well. But then there's in the expanded universe, we get the whole story of Darth Bane. We get the story of Darth Plagueis' rise to power. We get Malgus, and not his whole story or anything, but we get a lot of his story. Even the comics for the Old Republic with Lucian Dre and I think, what other comics did I remember? Oh, the Dark Empire comics that kind of also work along with the comics for what is his name? dude who he was like basically the first guy who did the first double-bladed lightsaber. He ended up on Yavin 4 as a Force ghost. So there was crap, I can't remember his name for some reason. I don't know why. It's just not with me right now, but it'll come to me in a second or something. But he was there was him and there was Ulick Qel-Droma, and they both, like, he was the master and Qel-Droma was the apprentice. They both went to the dark side, and that whole arc, like in the comics, is amazing. Although it kind of, there's a lot in all of the expanded universe that makes some extreme inconsistencies, including Red Harvest, Death Troopers. Joe Schreiber redeemed himself with Lockdown, because that was actually pretty decent. Lockdown for Darth Maul was pretty decent. But anyway, that's enough about the expanded universe. Guys, George Lucas didn't have anything, like, he didn't want to make that Star Wars. That was not what Star Wars was going to be. I get it that you're upset about all those amazing stories being taken away. Oh, Revan. That's another character, a great character. His story was pretty amazing, but before Revan, there's Darth. What is his name? What is his name? It just won't come to me right now. I don't know why, but Lucas decided to pass on his story by taking selling Lucasfilm to Disney. He decided to pass on his story, not to Disney to tell the story, but to Kathleen Kennedy, who is basically the director of all operations in Lucasfilm. And she was his apprentice, basically, throughout all of the first 6 movies, 7, if you include Clone Wars. Kathleen Kennedy was there. She was there the whole time. And she knows George Lucas's vision. So a lot of the people who complain about George Lucas ruining Star Wars, okay, I get it, but because you hate the prequels and everything, but actually I don't think he ruined Star Wars, in my personal opinion. But the people who think that George Lucas's vision wasn't met by Kathleen Kennedy, you're wrong. Because Kathleen Kennedy knows everything about basically George Lucas, Dave Filoni, Pablo Hidalgo, and Kathleen Kennedy. All basically, that's like the group of people that all know the most about the Star Wars universe as told by George Lucas. So he passes on the story to his apprentice, basically Kathleen Kennedy, and also Dave Filoni, because Dave Filoni has been doing a magical job with Rebels, and he did great with Clone Wars as well. But yeah, I'm loving this so far. I don't know about you guys, but I am. And none of you guys know what the actual vision for Star Wars was supposed to be. None of y'all know. Nobody ever is gonna know. You know, George Lucas can tell us, but even then we're still just getting his words from what that vision was supposed to be. And we're still not getting into depth with that. Until we actually see his vision on screen, we get to experience it, but we don't know what that vision to the T actually was in detail. We don't know. And so sitting here having these conversations like, oh, you know, we want to criticize his stories or other people's stories that have come after his or whatever. And I think you guys are really missing the point. Like, these aren't your stories. Simple as that. You know, if you want to write stories, better stories, write better stories. You do have every right to criticize a person's story, But at the same time, your attachment to it makes it seem as if you're losing something from it, from the fact that it just didn't go your way. And so you throw a tantrum and start crying. And that's what I see. I see tantrums being thrown. That's what I see. A lot of tantrums. Like my son, when he was 2 years old, he used to throw his body on the floor and bang his head and his hands all on the floor and everything when he couldn't get his way. And that's almost what I'm seeing here. Even my daughter is starting to get to that point. And like when I see your tantrums online, I'm reading through comments and everything. I never respond because I'm not getting ready to get involved. But when I see these things, I'm like, they're throwing tantrums. Star Wars isn't going my way. That's what it sounds like. It's not going your way, so you want to freak out. Oh, it's ruining Star Wars. It's not for you then. Go move on. Find something else to do with your time. Simple as that. Like, for me, I used to love He-Man as a kid. I watched it today. Oh my God. What was I thinking? It's not entertaining for me anymore. You grow up. You move on to bigger and better things that interest you. I used to be here talking about Star Wars all the time on all the novels and everything. It's time consuming and I'm not for it right now. I'd rather talk about cryptocurrency. Sorry, guys. It's not that important to me. But I am talking to you about it now because, you know, I love it. And I just want to be able to address some of these things in a conversation format. If you guys had things that you want to say, leave them down in the comment section. Feel free to do so. And I want to make sure I say this. Critics bring zero value to anything. Critics of feature films, you know, who are paid critics and whatever, okay, maybe that brings value to them in some way where they get paid for it, but it's not going to bring you tons and tons and tons of value because you are basically just the middleman. You are looking at somebody else's work and telling this other person who is supposed to be they're considering purchasing a ticket to a movie, okay, or considering buying a book, and you decide, oh, I'm going to tell you about this book, and hopefully that will get you to the point where you can read it. Now, there's some value in that based on the fact that you're helping bring people to a form of media that is being sold, a product that is being sold. But the thing is that, and I say zero value because, you know, the thing is that just being a critic alone does nothing for people. But when you tell people stuff that, actually is helpful to them, it's solving some kind of problem. So like, for instance, people will come and watch your channel if you got reviews that give information that they need to hear. So for instance, maybe you bridge the gap between theology and mysticism in Star Wars. You know, like what's his name, Urban Acolytes does, and his channel is actually, I follow it pretty closely, and I think he has a very good take on all of this. As far as I know, like a lot of people, Star Wars Explained has a very good take on the whole movie as well. I think it's pretty good too. But anybody else, I'm kind of take it as a grain of salt. Like all you guys who got all these fan theories and stuff. Oh my God. Like I stopped watching. I unsubscribed to a lot of those channels because it was just like, y'all are getting too ridiculous. Like, why are y'all putting this much energy into it? And then you're going to be wrong. And then it's like, I didn't care that much. I'm sorry. I just wanted to wait to see what happens. Like I even made a fan theory about Aftermath, the novel series, the Chuck Wendig's trilogy. thinking that Thrawn was gonna be in it, but no, he wasn't. That was Gallius Rax. And people thought Gallius Rax might be Snoke, and oh, he dies. Spoiler alert, sorry. But yeah, guys, I'm sorry. You know, like it might disappoint you a little bit, but things just ain't go. Things didn't go my way. They didn't go my way, and I'm okay with that. And I'm gonna talk about that right now. Actually, well, no, in just a second, because I definitely want to address these prequels. Let's talk about these prequels. Everybody, the majority of Star Wars fans tend to find it, well, this is my personal opinion. I think people find it cool to bash the prequels, just bash the hell out of them. But see, me personally, I'm somebody who's read the actual novelizations of them that are now legends. So they're no longer canon, and maybe they will re-release these novelizations in a different format, but they're no longer canon now. But that for me made it good enough, made the prequels good enough, like, because it elaborated even more on the story, and it really made these stories like something that I could relate to on a very deep level, especially Revenge of the Sith. Ooh, that novelization is way better than the film. Like, honestly, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, in comparison to these books, all of the Star Wars films suck. I'm gonna make sure, like, this 41 minutes, 30 something seconds. I'm gonna make sure I come back to this and put like a link to this very thing, because I'm gonna put a quote there that says, all the films suck, in my personal opinion. All the films suck in comparison to the novels, because if you really look at it, all the films is just like, they're for kids, they're for teenagers and kids. But when I read the novels, okay, we getting somewhere. I like this much better. It made me feel like I could relate to a lot of these characters on a much deeper level. Whereas with the films, it's just, oh, that's nice. I really watch the films nowadays just to make these little, like everything that I read in the novel, I'm trying to, you know, piece all this stuff together. And it really doesn't work that well, because I always know in the back of my mind, it was never planned that way, but they did a good job finding all the little gaps and filling them in. That's my personal opinion. But I think a lot of people hate on the prequels a lot just because of the fact that, oh, there's a ton of CGI. Guys, stop it with the CGI talk. Like, you go watch a movie that is completely animated. You'll watch a show that is completely animated or whatever, but then you'll complain when there's CGI in a film and you say, it takes me out of the movie. Okay, whatever. Like, seriously, if you read a book, you don't get none of the visuals. So you gotta use your imagination. Stop it with this stuff, y'all. It's a story. It is a story. Y'all just want to pick anything to complain about. The prequels came out at a very significant time. Right after Jurassic Park has shown that CGI can make a movie that seems and feels real. And then here, there's going to be a bunch of people that's going to come in and say, but they did such a much better job. Whatever. So what? As long as the story is good. And you might think that the prequel stories are bad, but like I said before, I read the novelizations. They made them much better for me. That's just me. For you guys, if you hate the prequels, fine. Okay, complain about it. Go talk about all the prequels and go bash them on the internet and everything. Oh, it sucks. I never watch them. I only watch the original trilogy. Purist here. Guys. No, who cares? Does this make you any, like, does it raise your status? Because you feel like you're a bigger and better fan because you don't watch the prequels? Because you feel like you're such a purist and everything that everybody else is going to think you're cool now? Is this what we do? Is this tribalism in Star Wars now? Is that what we're doing? It's so ridiculous. God, Jesus Christ. I'm over here ranting like crazy because it's touching me emotionally somewhere, because you guys are just insane. Don't get me wrong, this ain't the only thing that I get a little touched about. Like, you guys with politics, like, I don't get involved. Really, I try not to get involved. I try not to get into these conversations, but when I do, I try to make it very clear that y'all ain't gonna, because I'm not on either side of these arguments. I'm on the side of the argument where I'm looking at y'all, I'm like, are y'all for real? Are you really for real with these ridiculous arguments? Like, people who get into arguments about politics are just, I can't even tell you the hypocrisy on both ends. It's the same way here in Star Wars. It's the same way with Marvel versus DC. All you folks who, oh, DC is trash, DCU is trash, Marvel. I'm gonna tell you now, I didn't like all the Marvel movies. I think my favorite Marvel films, Marvel Expanded Universe films, are Captain America Winter Soldier and Captain America Civil War. And that's about it. Like, all the rest of them, they okay. I'll watch them. Even Avengers. Sorry, y'all. I'm not a fan. And I like BVS. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's, you know, some Scorsese film or something like that. But I'll tell you now, like, it's entertaining for me. I'm just, like, I got a mind of my own, y'all. And I use it. I'm going to tell you that I use it. I'm not going to sit up here and just follow all you know, folks who want to follow. I consider myself a leader, and I don't even consider myself a leader. I just consider myself my own person. And if people want to follow me, fine. I can show you the way, but don't take it like it's the truth for me. Use it on your own, and then become a leader yourself. That's what I care about. That's what I care about. Anyway, though, so Force Awakens, because I had to touch on this. I was disappointed in the movie. I was disappointed when I was sitting in the theater halfway through the movie. I'm talking about the first time I'm seeing this film. There was all kinds of hype. I was into it, and I was already mad that the expanded universe got completely wiped out. But then I started to get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm cool, I'm all right, you know, because Rebels came out, and then A New Dawn, what's it called? Heir to the Jedi, Lords of the Sith, Tarkin, all those novels came out, and I was like, yes, Star Wars is getting good again. And I was excited about the Force Awakens. And when the Force Awakens did release, and I'm in the theater, and I'm sitting in the theater halfway through, and I'm like, what the fuck? I feel like I've seen this movie before. What the fuck is going on? This seems so goddamn familiar. This is A New Hope. This is the original Star Wars movie. That's what this is. It's the same thing. And I was mad. I was upset. I was like, you played me for a fucking fool. And at that point, in that moment, I'm like, you know what? Hang on. Don't get too upset. Just chill for a minute. Sometimes there's a reason behind all of that. And by the time the movie was over, I was like, yeah, that was very much like A New Hope. I mean, that was basically the same thing. But I realized, okay, there is some differences though. The characters are different. The story is kind of different. You know, like the way the Force is used in this story is very different. And if, like, as soon as I got out of the theater, I started up the novelization of the movie, and I'm listening to it. And the very first thing that comes on is Leia talking about her search for Luke, I guess, and the experiences she had with Luke leaving, I guess, and what her thoughts are on it. And I was like, oh, I'm cool. I'm all right. Okay, there's some explanation here. And this already started off, the book started off very different from how A New Hope would ever be. So like, yeah, I'm cool with that now. And The Force Awakens went from being a complete shit show to me to being actually a decent story, a decent movie. Because I care about the story. I don't care about the film and, you know, the CGI and, you know, the battles. No, I like that whole hero's journey story is very fascinating to me. And why? Because it's fascinating to everyone. Story of Jesus Christ is extremely fascinating to everyone. Why? Well, maybe to some atheists, they hate on it and everything, but like, you can't lie that if it wasn't, you know, the source of a religious belief, the Bible would be a bestseller just like any other book, honestly. But I was disappointed. But then as time went on, I started to learn to accept that Star Wars was different now. It's different. It's not what I thought it was going to be. The expanded universe is now gone. I got to let it go. And I did. I was okay with that. Why? Because there's some books in the expanded universe that I'm okay with letting go of. If y'all see my last review for Thrawn, the Thrawn novel, I mentioned this stuff. There's some stuff in the expanded universe that I'm like, for real, y'all, do y'all really want that in Star Wars? You sure about that? It's like, people just like to say stuff just to say it. You know, like they emotionally attached to these things, and then they're like, oh, I just want to talk about stuff. And it's meaningless. It's meaningless because the things you're saying don't even make sense based on if you were to logically go through, like to break your statement down logically. It doesn't make sense. Because what you're saying is that you wish the expanded universe was back in Star Wars canon, and then people made movies based on some of these books. And you gotta understand that some of these books suck ass. They're inconsistent. They change Luke and Leia's mother like 1,000 times. Not 1,000, I'm exaggerating with that, but they do change Luke and Leia's mother. It happens. There was a book in the New Republic era that just it must have been made before. It must have been written before the prequels, because Padme Amidala, or however they want to call it, Padme Naberry, whatever, she's not Luke and Leia's mother at all. So just want to let y'all know that. Now, as far as The Force Awakens goes and Legends versus Canon goes, one thing that I was a little disappointed about was the fact that it didn't explore, like, it was the catalyst of something where we are no longer exploring the Force like we used to. We are still exploring the Force, but on a level where now everybody is kind of involved. And it's much less about Jedi and Sith, and it's more about just people, which I'm okay with. But I really enjoyed the fact that we followed a lot of stories about Jedi and Sith, or Jedi and Dark Jedi in the expanded universe and Legends. So I enjoyed that, but now it's a point where it's different. There's no such thing as gray Jedi. Stop it, y'all. It doesn't even make sense. I never used that term myself, really. Not seriously, at least. But that whole gray Jedi thing is just ridiculous. You either on one side or you on another at a certain point in time in your life. That's it. It's like a spectrum. You move here and you move there. You move here and, you got to stay in balance and stuff. And so you move from one side to another. It's not being a gray Jedi doesn't mean you stay in the middle all the time. So you use both sides. No, man, because at a certain time of day or a certain moment in your life, you're going to feel very differently. And I have those moments. I always have moments where I feel very Sithish and selfish. And I always have these moments where I feel very Jedi-ish and selfless. It's just, it is what it is. It usually happens in times of anger where I'm feeling very selfish, or I'm angry about something that I'm selfish about. And a lot of times when I'm selfless, it's because my needs are met. I'm cool. I'm chilling. I don't need a whole lot. I like doing for others. That's just me. And another thing about The Force Awakens was this is a great time for casual fans. I'm going to just repeat that because you casual fans are really like, wow. Just wow. Y'all like to speak on a lot of things y'all don't know about. And you speak about it as if it's truth. Or you speak about it in this anger like, I don't get it. You guys you refuse to read books or read comics or anything and say, oh, it should be able to stand up on its own. It's a movie. Not really. Not really. What you think that we get ready to cram hours and hours of written material into 2 hours of a movie? Come on now, y'all. Y'all asking for too much. You asking for way too much. Like, especially with the prequels. I don't understand how y'all complain so much about that. Everything that is in the prequels is a story that needs to be told. People talk about how just Revenge of the Sith was the only part of the story that needed to be told. No! Because people who give a shit about Palpatine and how he rose to power, they want to see how that happened. Are you not getting that? Come on now. Good Lord, Star Wars if people want to see the story that goes way back thousands of years to the Old Republic, Ulick Qel-Droma, what is his name? It's gonna come to me. It's going to come to me. Anyway, Ulick Qel-Droma, Darth Revan, Darth Bane, all these people from the Old Republic. We are interested in those stories. We're interested in reading about those stories. That means that people care about that stuff. Just because you don't care about it, you feel like the first 2 movies didn't make any sense and shouldn't have been in the films, it's because you're a casual. That's what that's about. I will tell you now, the original trilogy is not amazing. It is not great. Sorry, y'all. It has so many fucking flaws. Are you kidding me? There's flaws all over that goddamn movie. All 3 of them. There's flaws all over them. And the flaws that you all like to choose are like shit like fucking Ewoks, which makes sense to me because you're in a fucking galaxy full of all kinds of different species. Of course, you're going to probably have some fucking teddy bears that are vicious, savage killers. You're going to probably have that in a galaxy. For real, you got it on this planet. Fucking bears will kill your ass. Somebody make a meme of that shit. And make it a fucking Ewok. This teddy bear will fucking kill you. God damn it. But yeah, like, you gotta be kidding me. If you're a casual fan, it just sucks for you as a Star Wars fan. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to say that I'm a better fan than casuals. I'm not trying to say that. Casual fans get along just fine, and they should, because they want to just see movies. That's it. And that should be okay. But when you start talking about, oh, this isn't connecting here and the story's not coming together, that's your fault. You choose not to read the books. You choose not to read the comics. You choose not to watch Star Wars Rebels or Clone Wars. That's your choice. Now, I do agree and think that Star Wars Lucasfilm is making a mistake by putting so much heavy information in the alternative media. But it's something that should make you want to learn more. I think so. That's just my personal opinion. If people don't want to go deeper into it, then that's on them. That is on them. You know, folks want to say that, you know, it's only a small fraction of people that are, you know, diehard fans like that. And that's true. But personally, I think there should be enough there to satisfy both. And you're not going to please everybody. And here we are where the diehard fans make things even better for casuals because of the fact that we go looking for all this information and we share it. And some people who decide, you know what, today I feel like I want to become an even more hardcore Star Wars fan. They go looking for it and they find it. And we promote Star Wars. We make it so that people want to be more involved. Whereas casual fans just are there to see the movie. That's it. I'm not saying that there's no value in that, but if you want to play that role, play that role. Don't start complaining when you stepping outside of your role. Because basically now you're trying to become a hardcore diehard fan. I think a lot of people use that term very loosely. They say they're hardcore fans. I've been a fan since 1976. Or whatever. 77 was when it was released, but you know, like they like to talk about how they went to see the film and everything. So what? So fucking what? You went to see the film. All right, good for you. How does that make you even more of a fan than the next person when you don't read the fucking books? You don't care about the story as much as the next person does. You don't even like. This is my thing. Star Wars Explained has gotten so big that now their videos show up in the wiki, the Star Wars wiki. That is something that is taking your shit to the next level. When you are just a fan that claims that they're a hardcore fan, and you just went to see the first movie in theaters, and you're just like, I just want my nostalgia to be triggered. So that means I'm a diehard fan. You know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. In my definition, that doesn't make you diehard. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. It's okay to be a casual. Be a casual. Be casual with your fandom. But acknowledge that you are a casual fan. Know that. If you know that there's books and other media out there, and you know this, and you still refuse to pay attention to it, I think at that point it's safe to say, hey, you no longer a hardcore fan. Now, if you believe you're a hardcore fan because you watch all the movies and you watch the documentaries or whatever, okay, cool. That's cool too. Nothing wrong with that. But and because you don't know that there's books and stuff out there. But people who are diehard, hardcore, they go deeper. I'm not a diehard or hardcore Marvel DC fan. I'm not. I don't read all their comics and shit. There's too fucking many. I'm sorry. I'm too scared to even dip into that pool. I don't even want to do it. Star Wars, you're lucky because they wiped out everything with the expanded universe. And now you got only about almost 4 years of content that you can catch up on. Simple as that. Start from that point and catch up. And you could do that. With the expanded universe, it's not even necessary. But if you want to, you can. But you can start somewhere. Because once you get to the end of episode 9, it's going to be a little hard. I can guarantee you that. It's going to be a little hard to catch up. Now, let's talk about The Last Jedi. I loved it. I thought it was great. The Last Jedi is basically a misunderstood story, in my personal opinion. While everybody loves The Empire Strikes Back, I think The Last Jedi actually kind of touches on that story in a very, very similar way. People say it's a different movie. Actually, it kind of is the same. And I'm less disappointed with The Last Jedi as I am with The Force Awakens. How The Force Awakens just basically gave you the exact same goddamn movie to some degree. Whereas The Last Jedi was like, nah, we gonna switch it up a little bit. Because if you really think about it, Empire Strikes Back is a chase. It starts out as a chase. And Hoth is actually moved. So Hoth is moved from the beginning of the film to the end. And we add in Return of the Jedi, themes into The Last Jedi. So, and then like the whole failure thing, that is the ultimate theme in Empire Strikes Back. That is the ultimate theme. Everybody fails in Empire Strikes Back. Everybody fails in The Last Jedi, but they learn from it. And that's the thing. That's what the whole purpose of this film is, to show stages of growth. From the beginning, scared little boys and girls that are having the call to adventure and they refuse it. Second, scared boys and girls that have the call to adventure still refusing it. But now they're trying to do something about it to some degree. The only reason they did something about it in the first one is because they had to. Now they're doing it because they want to. Guys, what is it? Like, what is it about these complaints that make you think that they all make sense? Leia, Mary Poppins. What are you talking about? What are you just mad at the fact that Leia has a similar look to what Mary Poppins looked like in another movie? So now that just angers you? What? Huh? What is that? Why is that something to get angry over? What? So now, because Leia is extremely force sensitive, she is one of the strongest force sensitive. She has the strongest force sensitivity in the galaxy next to Luke. But she does something that a force sensitive would do, and now you mad. Something that we've all been waiting to see for years and years and years. But now you mad because she's done it. So it looks like Mary Poppins, and that's why you mad? Or I don't know. What? Like, so you're saying that Leia having force powers is kind of not her character or something? What? I don't know. Leave a comment down in the comment section. If you are one of these people, please help me understand. Help me understand what it is you're trying to come at. What are you trying to get to? Leia, Admiral Akbar. That's something I was mad about. That just happened and it was like, what? Akbar's dead. He didn't have a very big role in the first film either. And the fact that he was even really still alive that long was pretty amazing to me. Because in the Legends, he's there for some time, but he dies eventually. And, there's other Mon Calamari that take his place. But honestly, guys, like, I don't know, like, I'm okay with the fact that he died. He had to go, and that's part of the story. In the book, in the novelization, it might touch on that a little bit deeper. And I can't wait for it to come out because I really want to find out all the little details of this story that I may have missed or that I may be able to touch on a little bit later. But honestly, guys, there's a few more things. So Poe, you guys are mad because the bombs. The bombs, they mention in the film, bombs are magnetic or something like that. And so, of course, they will drop down to something that is metal. And then not only that, everything that has mass in space will have some level of gravity. So these bombs will drift towards that mass. But that also could mean that they could drift towards any other mass. But this is the largest mass that there is. This dreadnought was massive. Pun intended. So then Poe, everybody says Poe, you know, it was just pointless. He was running around looking crazy. Holdo, they have issues with Admiral Holdo. Honestly, I don't have any issues with either one of them. Poe did exactly what seemed Poe-ish to me, because I've been following his whole comic for the last 2 years or whatever, I guess, however long it's been out. But yeah, I've been following the Poe comic, and it's been fun. It's actually even better now than it was at the very beginning. And it fits his character very well for me. He's very in character as Poe. It almost made me feel like he was actually reading the comics. But there is an issue where Poe is relearning lessons in this film that he probably should have learned while he was in these comics. But the thing is I think that the stakes probably just weren't as high. So that's the difference. And these things, I think these things are addressed in Story Group at Lucasfilm. I just think they're addressed already. But then another issue that a lot of people had was with the Canto Bite thing. People say that it didn't make sense to the story. Actually, it made a whole lot of sense to the story because he needed to go through that. It doesn't advance the plot. Yes, it does. It really does. You get to see Finn like as this little boy who is fascinated with the world, and he recognizes that the world is not what he thinks it is on the surface. So he has to see that in order for him to say to himself, I have to be better as a person, as a man, as a human being. When he starts driving that thing into the battering ram gun, that's his evolution there, y'all. Y'all don't get that? You don't see that? And I'm not here just trying to make it seem like I'm saying that Rian Johnson did the greatest job or anything, because I do have my issues with the film. But listen, y'all, everything that you think you thinking about, all the little gripes that you have, came up in Story Group. I'm sure they came up, and they probably were addressed, and they probably just not addressing them publicly right now because they feel like you guys are fucking idiots. Deep down inside, they're not gonna say that. They're not going to say it because you guys are fucking arguing and yelling and screaming and whining about shit that doesn't even fucking matter to the story. You sitting up here talking about Canto Bite makes no sense. It doesn't make sense to you because you fucking stupid. And I'm sorry to talk down on some of y'all, but honestly, y'all, you're not paying attention. You're not actually following the story. You just here eating your popcorn, waiting for something new to happen, waiting for the next lightsaber fight and shit. And you want something like that's coming out of your mind. You're trying to project some shit out on the world. It's not for you to do. That's not what the world is. Star Wars isn't going to go the way you fucking think it is. Stop it. So, let's talk about another thing. Luke Skywalker's character. Everybody thinks Luke Skywalker is not following character. You're wrong. You're wrong. Luke Skywalker, or Mark Hamill even said that Luke Skywalker isn't this kind of guy. And Urban Acolytes, Prince with Urban Acolytes even said this himself. He said that Mark Hamill admitted himself that he doesn't even follow all the canon alternative media. He doesn't follow any of that. Why? Because he doesn't have to. He's an actor. what he knows of Luke Skywalker is what he played, the role he played. He doesn't know the character to the depth of not only just canon, but legends. I'm sure what he may know about legends still may be completely inaccurate because there's multiple depictions of that. Okay, so I probably should just wrap up here, but honestly, guys, like a lot of the gripes that you guys had with this movie don't make sense to me. And I just wanted to say that because it's crazy to sit here and read all these comments with people that just are casual fans and some who are consider themselves diehard fans, but they just love the expanded universe and shit, and they can't let it go. That's what it is, y'all. Y'all just can't let shit go, including Phasma. Now, that is one thing that I definitely have to say. Phasma is something that disappointed me in this film because they built her up so much this year with the novel, the comic and everything, and I thought Phasma was a badass. She died. Well, maybe she died, maybe she didn't. I hope that maybe there's some hope that she survived. But the thing is that if my wish comes true, then that ruins the story even more because people thought she died on Star Killer base, which would make sense to a lot of people, I think, because you know, she was down in a trash compactor. How in the hell did she get away so fast? But the comic explains that, the book explains what kind of person she is. And I was into that. And then they gave her like 3 seconds in the film and she dies in that film, which is fucked up. But, you know, hey, whatever. I guess you just gotta kind of accept that. I was like, that was the big Phasma and Finn. That was the big battle that I was looking forward to, and that was so underwhelming. The big battle that happened was in the throne room of Supreme Leader Snoke, and that wasn't even the battle that I wanted to see. Like, it was cool, but you know, Phasma and Finn was the one that I really wanted to see. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of gripes about the way Finn is portrayed as a character, and I'm starting to agree. Like, they're not doing my boy Finn the justice that he deserves. You know, people like to call this the SJW Star Wars Era, and honestly, I don't think that that's what this is. Because if this was SJW'd up, we see a lot more of SJW type themes, and that's just not here. This is pretty much coming from Lucas's vision of what he thought Star Wars, the Star Wars sequel trilogy should look like. And, you know, it just happens to be a coincidence that there are other stories that seem very SJW-ish to people, you know, like Rogue One seems very SJW-ish to people, but unfortunately, I don't think that it is. It just is basically just people understanding that times have changed, and if you want bigger audiences, then you gotta put people that people can relate to in these films. That's just Hollywood, y'all. Like, in Hollywood, you gotta put, like, people complained about the film Independence Day Resurgence, I think it is, whatever is the second film. It just is absolutely terrible. The first film is terrible. What am I talking about? But people are upset because, you know, they say that the film is catering to international audiences too much, and which y'all want these films to not make any money at all. Like, people are bootlegging so much nowadays that they can't make no money in Hollywood. So what do you expect? Like, this is not just something where they sit in a room and think about how to please y'all. They sit in a room and think about how they gonna sustain this business. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Friggin' idiots. Like, you kidding me? You don't understand that this is a business. If you don't understand that shit, then you don't need to be fucking, like, let me take that back. Be who you are. Fucking deal with life the way you feel like dealing with it. I don't care anymore. Because honestly, I feel like, you know, my biggest fear is that a lot of you whiners, a lot of you crybabies out there are gonna fuck up episode 9 and the next sequel trilogy because you fucking cry so much about shit that's pointless that they're gonna try and shoehorn a bunch of dumb shit into the story now just to keep y'all satisfied. Just like with The Force Awakens, they had to try and play it safe just because you fucking assholes, and I mean that, y'all some fucking assholes. Y'all are so fucking selfish that you feel like it's more important for your vision to be sought out on the big screen than just for them to have their own say in their own goddamn film. Just to be creative. You remove the creativity of Hollywood because you are selfish. And every time you download a film, I'm guilty of this as well, you are creating that problem. You're making it even bigger. And I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, that's inevitable. So I guess these whiners and crybabies is just, it is what it is. It's what it's meant to be. And I'm gonna have to suck up the whole fact that y'all are crying so much that Lucasfilm is probably gonna have to go in and readjust now. And we can't get the Star Wars story that was meant to be told from the very beginning because people, they complain too much. They complain about fiction. It's like, what? Just enjoy it, man. Fucking, if you don't like it, move on. Move on. Say your piece and then move on. You don't like it. All right. What's next? You know, I like fucking, you know, movies that with people beating each other up and shit. A lot of, I like Transformers movies. Let me say that because people who call themselves Star Wars fans seem to be, you know, expecting lightsaber fights and the Force being used all the time. And pew, 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 you know, blasters and explosions and shit, and no real story, nothing, you know, and people who claim that screenwriting is terrible, storylines are terrible. Write a fucking book, you know, write a book, write your own screenplay, you know. If you ain't doing that, do something with your life that actually makes some fucking sense to you, and stop criticizing everybody else's shit as if, you know, they supposed to do it for you. Because it's not necessarily for you. It is for the masses. It's for everyone. And, you know, while all these adults are sitting here crying and whining like babies, these kids are loving this shit. They're enjoying it. And say these porgs are put in a movie to sell toys. Fuck yeah, they're putting a movie to sell damn toys. What do you think? What do you think Disney is about? What do you think their business? And maybe they weren't putting the movie just to sell toys. Maybe it was an actual part of the story. They supposed to be these creatures that live on this planet that do play a role. And we just haven't seen that role being played yet. But the thing is that who cares, y'all? Who cares? Why are you so jaded about the fact that Disney's selling fucking toys? Why are you so jaded about the fact that Disney is making fucking money? A profit. Why are you so jaded about the fact that a for-profit company is trying to make profit? They don't have non-profit at the beginning of their shit. Why are you mad at people doing exactly what the fuck they supposed to be doing. And rant here, man. Fuck this. Like, why am I even talking about this shit anymore still? I don't know. It's beyond me. Like, I'm just trying to enjoy this shit. I'm probably gonna make more videos about this in the future. Just cause I know that I'm gonna see some shit that's gonna probably piss me off. I'm a little jaded myself about all you motherfuckers out here that just make me feel so embarrassed for humanity with your whining and crying. Maybe this is what we need for evolution. Because I'm not mad just about Star Wars fans. I'm mad about people who are involved in politics. I'm mad about people who are involved in these controversial conversations about social issues like race and all that, and whether fucking privilege exists or not, and yada yada yada. And you know, people who think that they are trying to change the world and shit by making stupid ass posts that don't make no fucking sense, and they think they actually changing people's lives and shit. No, you're not. You're not doing it with social media. You don't even have an audience. You fucking got 1,000 friends. You got a fucking a mini fraction, a micro fraction of the entire population's attention. And you sitting up here, you don't even have your whole audience's attention. You sitting up here thinking that you making some kind of difference by making your little SJW / not SJW posts. I'm talking about both sides here, y'all. All of y'all kill me, man. Just fucking enjoy. How come you can't enjoy life? Why you gotta be so angry all the goddamn time? I know I'm angry right now about this shit, and the irony of that shit is fucking crazy. But goddamn, like, I want to be able to live in a world where I could walk down the street and I see smiles on people's faces. They know how to deal with life. Why am I always coming across all these angry ass people? How come I get on social media all the time and I gotta fucking edit my feed just so I could get rid of you fuckers that always complain all the goddamn time? And I am a little bit addicted to it. I ain't even gonna lie. This is more about me than it is about y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all that now. This is more about me. I'm trying to deal with this shit myself. So yeah, you know, that's just my thing. So let me just go ahead and end this video here. I'm not even getting ready to make no speech about this shit. Fucking subscribing and whatever. Just if you feel like it, do it. If you don't. I don't give a fuck. Bye.